Hi everybody, it's Brooke, and I wanted to do a quick video today on a little bit more on the Kundalini fragmentation. Now, Chrism has this word coined, and I love this word. I love that he chose this word. It's a great word to describe this process within the Kundalini awakening or Kundalini activation context. A lot of people will confuse a dark night of the soul with a fragmentation, and many people are having dark nights of the soul and are not inside the Kundalini awakening context. They are not having Kundalini, so what we're talking about here is a fragmentation. It's being called the Kundalini fragmentation. It's inside the Kundalini process. Now, the other thing is, not everyone that's going through a Kundalini awakening or activation is going to have a fragmentation. But there are people that are having one. I had one. And I think, just to expand upon Chrism's teaching a little bit, because it's brilliant. His teaching is absolutely brilliant on this topic. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with it. What is the Kundalini fragmentation? It's basically the Kundalini seeking to move the individual into ego refinement. Now, ego refinement is never easy. And the way mine looked was, oftentimes this can happen with several crises all in one situation, or happening back to back in a row. You might lose your job, and for me, like, I lost all of that. I was attacked by a dog, first of all, on my mouth, on my face. It was huge. Then just from there, I was sued. I had bad financial stuff going on. I couldn't work. I had to leave that job. My career was in shambles. My intimate relationship left. So all of this stuff left was kind of just fragged, in like an hour. So it all happened in one day. It seemed like, not really, but the Kundalini fragmentation is when your life is fragging, when your life is breaking down. Now, for me, I just explained kind of how mine was. Mine was in my literal world. Sometimes a person might frag with extreme phenomena where it is like a tree just drops out, or their reality, the way they're seeing the reality, is just dropping out in that way with phenomena. The other thing that goes on inside of fragmentation is that the frag is happening on all the bodies or all the levels, like the emotional, the mental, your physical world. So all of this, like, I was having extreme emotional surges that were just like taking me over, and I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize those surges of emotion coming through me, because before, in my old life, I was relatively controlled with that. This was just absolutely uncontrollable. I couldn't control it. It was just taking me over. So from a physical standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a career standpoint, my intimate relationship, the other people that I ran with and were a part of their lives, all of this was gone. So every single level for me completely fragged out. And this kept happening over and over and over for a period of years. And it gets to the point where your frag will look different, but I'm giving you my example so you can draw the parallel. But it gets to the point where you become hopeless. Like, I mean, it was exhausting. I mean, you get to the point where you are absolutely just desolate, and you feel completely bereft. You almost don't have anything left to go on anymore. I mean, there were times where I just I couldn't take one more thing, not one more thing. I just couldn't take one more thing. And then that one more thing would happen. I mean, and it just kept going. And I mean, it gets to the point where you can get severely depressed. So all of these things are in there, and which is the reason why I'm doing this video, is because I feel you if you are in this at all. It is very hard. It is the Kundalini moving you through a process of extreme conditioning, extreme refinement, so that you can begin to see who you really are. You see, with me, those things, my job, my career, all these things, my intimate relationship, they were a big part of who I thought I was, my identity. So as those things began to frag, I went through a period of what I call the oh shit period, where it's like, who am I? What am I? What happened? What do I do? It was so terrifying. Like, fear is not even the word to describe it. I don't know that terror. I didn't know terror to that level existed. Really, that's everything was just magnified. I didn't know pain at that level existed either. Didn't know it existed at that level, but it does. Wow. But all those things that I was identified with began to frag out. So it's pushing you, the Kundalini, to move into who you really are, which is of the inner divine. So this is a process of conditioning. It's actually when you're left standing in this rubble, this destruction all around you, and you begin to feel this nothingness, you begin to really break into the everythingness, which is what the Kundalini is guiding you to do. Now, this is a gift. This is an amazing gift. Now, the thing is, when you're going through it, when you're moving through this, you're going and you're trying, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels horrid. And I think the more information on these phases that we have within the Kundalini awakening, the better, so that people can learn. For example, if I would have known that was a gift, I might have approached it a little bit differently. I don't know, because it was challenging, but I'm saying I think there would have been a little bit of relief. Now, the other thing that this is teaching you to do is the Kundalini is teaching you, yes, the ego refinement and all of that, but you're being compelled and pushed to move into the art of surrender. So one of the things that I kept doing was resisting. And the way that my resistance looked was Brookie kept trying to go back to the old thing. She'd try to pull up the old thing and put it into the new thing. And that was my resistance. And it was brutal because it never worked. You know, another thing that goes on in this fragmentation is nothing works. You can try and try and try, and nothing works. And I did, and I was so exhausted for all these years doing this over and over and over. And, nothing worked. You just try to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You try to start this, you try to start that, you try to go back to that. Nothing. Just absolute nothing, over and over and over. So nothing's working in this frag. And you're being compelled and pushed to surrender to it. I mean, that's challenging. That's challenging for the ego. That really is. That's my little doggy right there. Hi, Mins. So the other thing that's happening within this fragmentation is those huge surges of wound. You're healing a lot of old stuff, and a lot of times this stuff can be so magnified. It seems like it's multiple lives old. It's so big, and sometimes it just doesn't warrant your external situation that you have. So makes you think, where's all this stuff coming from? But anyway, there's that going on. There's the refinement going on. There's this sense of hopelessness and loss and just feeling like a failure. And you're just feeling like, come here, honey, lay down. You're just feeling like you can't go on. Until finally, I remember with myself, there was this gradual, I would say, understanding of surrender. And it's as we surrender to this and begin to see that the old way is no longer the way to go, and that there is a new way, and that the Kundalini is seeking to show you what it is. But, I wasn't listening. So we surrender and we begin to listen, and we begin to see that there actually is a path or a door opening. It's just not the door you might think that you want to go through, or it's not the door that you had in mind, or maybe it wasn't even something you thought of, but it's still the door, and it's still the way for you. So as we begin to surrender, there begins to be that door there. And so the other thing that you begin to learn in this fragmentation is you begin to learn the art of learning to move from the known into the unknown in full surrender and full trust to the Kundalini and what it wants with you. The other thing you begin to learn is that that's your life now. It will never be the same. It's never going to be, I really am going to go do this because I want to do this and this is really great. Nothing, that's not really, it's not about your ego desires and your ego, what it wants and all of that. It's now in coordination with the Kundalini and the pulsations that it will have you move through. You are yielded and you are surrendered to that, and that is your life now. So your life is never the same after the fragmentation, and your life is never the same after the awakening. Anyway, the Kundalini uh, activation, even it's gradually bringing you to the point of ultimate surrender and um, ultimate trust, and beginning to move from the known to the unknown, and a realization of who you really are, which is none of this other stuff out here, and it is only the inner divine. Um, so your life will never be the same. And one of the things that I began to do, or started to do over and over, was I tried to make my old life kind of part of my new life, and that was a big reason why the resistance was there, and why I think the frag lasted as long as it did. Maybe not. I don't know. There was a lot of karma and stuff like that going on too. So anyway, I hope I covered everything in this one. I wanted to just do a little bit more in a furtherance of Chrisam's teaching on the Kundalini, because it is so, so good. So if you have a chance to go look at his article on that, I urge you to do it if you're going through anything like this. I wish you the best of luck. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.